So this is a vid I've been chewing on for a while, and I've even made a couple vids that kind of chew around the edges of this, but none of those really hit the nerve I was feeling I needed to hit. And I don't mean from a content creator perspective on this, getting those likes and clicks. I mean from a my brain perspective. So maybe I'm going at this one a little more off the cuff than normal, so we'll see if that helps. So I don't know. Want to come with me on a little journey? Let's get this. Okay, yeah, so obviously I was going to edit this so it didn't get too ranty. Let's start here, and I suspect a fair number of people clicking on the title and the thumbnail will bail after the next sentence. So is this game a scam? No. I have a whole vid on that, and my views haven't changed much, and that includes Squadron 42. The long and the short of it is that you don't dump this much or this many resources into producing vaporware. You don't have 5 studios, you don't hire 1,000 people, you don't push out a product and improve on it year after year. You don't push out patches. If it were a scam, it would have never left the JPEG stage, and CR would have just run for the hills a long time ago. Now, did his ambition and the ambition of CIG outreach his grasp? Maybe. Maybe. We need to wait and see on that one, but a scam, I'm still leaning no on that one. I think the word I've been chewing on for a while is investment, and I'm not really talking about money here. Well, okay, not entirely talking about money here. Figure I'll get into that in a second. Here, I'm talking more about an emotional investment, and probably a social one too, if I'm being honest. One of the reasons this topic is always so polarizing and this game is so polarizing is because after 10 years of development, people are invested. Yes, some people, such as myself, have dumped a lot of money into this game, so monetarily invested too. Some people have dumped a lot of money or any money into this game and now feel burned that the game hasn't been delivered yet. Other people have invested a lot of time into this game and now feel obligated to defend it and bring other people into the project. Likewise, there are people that have dumped time into this game and feel it didn't deliver, and now they feel obligated to tear it down and chase people away from the project. And then there's people that probably are more invested in the community than the actual game itself. And that one goes both pro and con. There are definitely people who have made defending or tearing down this game their entire identity, or at least enough they'll just blast it in on any topic, no matter where it pops up, and throw in their defense or attack. Like, I have seen people log in week after week after week after week on Star Citizen videos, literally the ones the company puts out, and talk about how terrible the project is. They're more dedicated to the game than people that play it every day. And I see people in chat do the same thing. So somebody is actually logging into the game to tell people how much the game sucks. Day after day after day after day after day. That is an investment. Don't get me wrong, I've played this game almost every day since around 2015, with a few exceptions, like when I go on vacation or head out somewhere. I want to see it succeed. For that matter, part of this channel is my desire to give a realistic representation of what this game is and isn't, something I wasn't really seeing in other content creators, at least not consistently. While I love this project and want it to succeed, I'm not going to go onto a detractor stream and start yelling about all of Star Citizen's virtues. For one, as much as I love this thing, it's a broken mess at the moment, and it has been for a while. I'm here for the promise, I guess, so the potential, but I'll get to that in a second. Basically, everyone's picked a side by this point in development, and it's hard to maintain objectivity in that environment no matter what side you're on. In other words, tribes have formed, and once you have tribalism, well, yeah, so good luck finding a center in that mess. So my original idea with this vid was that I was going to pull this ship, Pariah, my Carrack, to demonstrate something that's kind of core to this game and that really isn't seen in any other game, at least not one that I can think of off the top of my head. This is a big ship. It's an expensive ship. It's the in-game exploration ship if the concept sales to be believed. So is it pay to win that I own one without having to grind for it? So I don't think this tangent will be too long because I've been thinking on this one for a while, but it seems like the pay to win thing comes up a lot. So this is as good a place as any to talk about it, I suppose. Like some things with this project, this one isn't that easy to answer. And again, people have kind of formed their tribes on this one. You have the, you must grind up from zero or you aren't playing the game tribe. And you have the, I'm a grown-ass adult with a job and I don't have the time to spend, say, a year grinding for the ship I want to play tribe. So which one's right? I don't know. I don't even think CIG knows at this point because so much of the mechanics and what the game will eventually be are up in the air. And if there's a theme for this vid, it's probably that. We just don't know. But can I make an educated guess? Based on what CIG has said and what's been dropping in Evocati in the last year or so, sure, why not? I mean, I'll probably throw this one under the wild speculation tagline, so I might as well speculate wildly a little bit. So take this ship, the Carrack. Last time I checked in, this thing was around, I think around 600, 625, if I remember right. Also, if I remember right, I didn't pay that much for it. Or I might have, but it was part of the UEE exploration bundle. But if I'm being honest, the Carrack was always a ship I wanted to own. So where was I? Right, pay to win. So I bought the end game exploration ship for real money, basically jumping over the guy who buys something like an Aurora or a Mustang and then just grinds and grinds and grinds for days and weeks until they have a Carrack in their hands. So at the end of the day, which one of us had the better game experience? Right off the bat, I can tell you there are people rushing to the keyboard right now. Certainly there are people like, let's say, Salty Mike and Super Mac Brothers that would say that I was probably cheating myself by buying the ship. And there's probably other people there saying it's fine. And still other people there saying, hey, thanks for supporting the game. And there's definitely another group that says I'm an idiot that's contributing to this scam. Like I said, tribes. Really, with games like this, projects like this, I hesitate to say free to play because you have to buy a game pack before you can play it. But yeah, I still say the model that's closest to the one CIG seems to be going for is free to play. You toss in your $45, you get access to the game, but you never have to spend another cent of real life money. So with games like this, with the free-to-play model, the way the company keeps the game going by keeping the company solvent is by letting people pay money to avoid the grind. To go off on another little tangent, I have this mobile game on my phone called Alien Invasion. Clearly, you are supposed to be spending money to avoid the grind, but I never have. In a sense, I'm playing the game in a zero to hero manner. So far, I haven't spent any money on the game at all. Apparently, I'm the minority. So I did a quick search and I found out that there was this community on the game. And some people had spent hundreds of dollars on upgrading their tiny little alien on their phone. On one hand, I don't get why anyone would spend money on a mobile game to get this super powerful alien when there's an end game that basically ends the game for you. But on the other hand, yeah, I'm doing exactly that in Star Citizen, right? So I get why people think one way is better than the other. In the end, it comes down to my plans for the way I want to play the game. For me, I want me and my org to have a fleet of ships on day one so that we can realize the dream of the Carnival, a spacefaring fleet that travels location to location around the verse, stopping for a short time in one location before pushing on to the next. If we didn't have all of these ships available, if we each only had starters, we might be waiting a year, 2 or 3 or more before we could start playing the game that we actually wanted to play in the way that we wanted to play it. Sure, we'd be playing the game that someone else enjoys, basically that zero to hero model, but not the one that we're looking for. But again, that kind of comes down to conjecture about what the game will eventually be. One day, and I'll get there in a second, I think. But for right now, do I believe that buying a ship like the Carrack is pay to win? No. No, I honestly don't. Let's take a little walk through this ship, and we don't have to go that far. So I was just loading Pariah up with stuff for an org event when I figured I could just start recording and talking about this, because nothing makes my point better than wandering through a Carrack alone. One of the ways Star Citizen is different from other games, and one of the things that drew me to it in the first place, was the fact that it wasn't fake. You need a crew. When you are controlling your ship, it's not some third person filled with magical crew and all the guns work, and you're basically the ship and not a person in the ship. And some of this is conjecture, given that we don't have engineering or NPC crews or even a working economy yet, but some of it definitely isn't. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a solo piloted Carrack easily taken out by 1 or 2 other players. The reason for that is pretty simple. You can't fly and shoot at the same time in this ship. You have to have other people on it. The Carrack has 4 turrets, and those are its only weapons. You can only control them by sitting in them. None are controlled by the pilot. Sure, the Carrack can carry a small runabout and a ground vehicle as well, but if you're in one of those alone, then you aren't flying the Carrack, right? So as this game evolves, at least if it evolves the way it's supposed to, soloing a ship this size will be nearly impossible, as you'll be hopping out of your seat to fix things often enough that it'll be a big problem. And sure, you can hire NPCs to crew the thing up, and I'm sure most everyone with a multi-crew ship pretty much think anything bigger than like a Constellation, especially one the size of a Carrack, will go that route with at least a couple NPC crew members for backup, if nothing else, or just to have someone in a turret. But the best crews will be made of people, real life, breathing, thinking human beings sitting in front of a computer screen somewhere in the world. That's the dream, at least. But at the end of the day, people that throw down $600 for a ship in this game or more and think it's an I win button, and yeah, I'm kind of looking at the Idris and Javelin moaners that think that if they have a Javelin in this game, they're unbeatable. Just the people that have boarded Idris's in the Xenothreat event can tell you that isn't the case. These people are going to be in for a real bad time when this game goes live. Probably bad enough that they'll be joining the ranks of the detractors of this game when it's all said and done. Even if they get that dreamed of NPC crew, CIG is definitely going to balance that out. And CR has flat out said he doesn't want NPC crews to be a better option than actual players. He wants people to play together, and that's been consistent from day one. Even ham-handed events like Jumptown prove that out. So don't count on NPC crews making a big ship like this one elite. Or if they do, expect it to be so expensive that I better be doing something amazing to be able to continue to afford them. And you'll probably have to hire escorts anyway, which is also going to cut into your funds. So that's my 2 cents on it anyway. And I think that's actually a pretty good segue to the main point, I think. So let's get into that. So pay to win, not really, but what is this game? Is it even a game right now? As much as I love this project, I have to lean towards no right now. The way I think about it is like this. Have you ever watched a content creator that has early access to a game? It doesn't have to be a big name game like a AAA game, just something ambitious in early access. You watch them play through it and they'll comment on the bugs, at least if they're a good content creator, talk about things that have to be smoothed out, say, oh, this music or this sound kind of needs work. This part right here doesn't really make sense. But even without that commentary, you can see the potential of the thing. You can see the idea and the vision and the care and the love that went into creating that project, that alpha project, even if the end result or the result so far is a broken mess. And that's kind of where Star Citizen is right now, 10 years and a few $100 million into development. Chris Roberts had a vision of a game that was, okay, not necessarily impossible to make, but certainly impractical. It would take too much money and too much time, and no production company was going to throw that kind of money at a project that was basically just going to be a decade or so of R&D before you really saw any results. We're playing a really impressive tech demo. If I'm being honest, I don't really recruit people into this project. And you'll notice that I keep calling it a project more often than not, less so than I call it a game. I don't recruit people in without giving them that dose of reality up front. There are going to be bugs, there are going to be things that are broken, and that's just kind of the reality. If you jump in with someone who is aware of that, it's a much better experience because they'll be like, oh yeah, just get in and out of your seat and it'll fix that, or oh yeah, that's just kind of Star Citizen, let's jump to another server, that kind of thing. Maybe in a year, if server meshing is working and the NPCs aren't stacked up standing on the backs of chairs and acting more like they're supposed to be, I can say something else. I hope so anyway. I really hope so. Both fans and detractors of this project talk about Hopium. Talk about all the things CIG has promised will be in the final game one of these days. And here we are without even a working economy. But that said, every year that I have watched this project and followed this project, it takes a step forward. Sometimes it's a baby step. Sometimes, like with Planet Tech, it's a big step. But year over year, this thing is getting polished out. Granted, some patches are rougher than others, like the one that we're in right now, and like 3.17. And it's pretty safe to say that even CIG doesn't know how some of this stuff will work together, or whether it'll have to just be scrapped for something else. But also after 10 years, the community itself has tried to fill in those gaps. And way too often those gaps are filled with Hopium and, well, wild speculation. Guilty. At the end of the day, this crazy, ambitious, broken thing is exactly what CR wanted. The real game, the real Star Citizen, at least right now, is playing with other people. And where this whole game shines is when you're dropping with another person or a group of people. You can be doing just about anything in Star Citizen, but if you do it with someone else, it's infinitely more engaging than doing it alone. It makes all the bugs worth it, at least for me. You might have a different take, and that one, it's just as valid as mine. And that's kind of my point. Catch me next time.